Sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social side, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.TV, my favorite little online network. And I'm your host for the next 2 hours. It is the 19th of November, and it's snowing here this morning, which, not unusual for the 19th of November. We'll get a bit of snow, and it'll go away. And hopefully we have a balmy winter. Apparently all the glaciers are melting. NASA has a new app out that I love these guys. Scientists are brilliant people. Never question a scientist because, well, there's a new priest and you couldn't question the priests, and now you can't question the scientist, regardless of how stupid whatever it is they put forward. Now, NASA's come up with a new app that will tell you which glacier, which rapidly melting glacier will flood your home. Now, you'll want to pick that app up because, well, if you're alive, you don't want to get flooded out by a melting glacier. And NASA has the ability to tell you which glacier is going to flood your home. So, yay to science, bunch of lying dogs, and hopefully people. I read some of the comments on that, and I don't think I've seen any that were positive towards NASA or the entire climate fraud. People are finally, God, it takes a long time, but as I say, all propaganda, which is a product of the mind, abstract concepts, nothing real about them, but all propaganda, because it's a product. All products have a shelf life, a best before date, and finally, after all these freaking years, it appears that the best before date for climate change, man-made global warming, is about limited itself out. And people are calling it out left, right, and center now, which forces outfits like NASA to come out with new apps telling you they're so intelligent that they can tell you which rapidly melting glacier is going to flood your home. So you can look it up, and you're probably going to want the app running 24/7 because you don't want that melting glacier sneaking up on you. Anyways, I'm going to go check something out here. This is something I meant to mention last night. I guess Malcolm Young, founder and guitarist for AC/DC, passed away after a long fight with Alzheimer's. I think they called it dementia, at the age of 64. So that's that. So for all you AC/DC fans out there, it's a sad day. And but we are still alive, so we got to get on with what we got to get on with. Now, I want to look up, I went to get a coffee this morning, and the gal at the store was asking me if I knew what the hell happened up at the local gas station last night. Well, no, I don't. I'm going to take a quick look here and see if there's anything in a local news source to find out if there's any news on that particular situation. Just out of my own curiosity. Let's see, I don't see nothing here. Snow squalls sweeping across Midwestern Ontario. Travel plans could be put in jeopardy today because of old man winter. So I guess we'll have to wait till spring. There's no rush, I guess, to get the app of the rapidly melting glaciers because apparently old man winter's back. And we got Snow Squall City, which I think will probably slow down the rapid melt of the glaciers. I don't see anything on here as to what the hell was going on in my town last night. So we'll leave it at that for now. I do notice that some of the smaller towns now, Southern Ontario, the mayors are in a big hurry to put in rainbow crosswalks because they want to be diverse and inclusive. And if you do see a rainbow crosswalk in your town, paint it black, paint it white, you know, do a wheel stand on it, and smoke them tires. We got to stop laying down to this garbage. Stand up to it. Now, if you've got a marker pen, now this could get me in trouble, but don't think it will. Because I've seen it before, you know, you got a stop sign. There's a stop sign on every freaking corner. So it says stop. So you get one of those markers that the rain will wash away. So it's not permanent, and a non-permanent marker, so that they don't have to repaint the sign or change the sign. So therefore, you're not damaging the sign. You know, I've seen signs with stop agenda, stop and then agenda 21 underneath them. We're being flooded with Islam, and it's part of a plan to take us down. And, you know, we don't really have access to guns like they do stateside. So, you know, I guess we need to protest this in a non-violent manner, because I don't think we want violence. I know we don't want violence to change this out, but we got to have some pushback. So, you know, how long would it take you to write the word Islam underneath the word stop? We have to get a message out. We can't just keep backing up. This politically correct nonsense is taking us down. You know, we're making it way too easy on these people. So if you do decide to mark a stop sign, or you got some other thing you got on your mind, do it. But in a non-violent, non-destructive way. So if you have the non-permanent markers, I think you'd be okay with that. But we don't own the media, and so we need media. And I tried to do a magazine several years ago, and what I found was that the bigger advertisers, I'm not talking about, you know, huge advertisers, but, well, they're attached to huge companies, be it car lots or anything that the government's got their finger on that they're regulating. once I got talking to those people, well, they liked what I was doing. They said they couldn't advertise because they were afraid they would get in trouble. Well, you're in trouble. You're in deep shit. And we need to start pushing this back ASAP. Now, I want to get this guy on the show. I talked to him once, and he was on his way to see his lawyer at the time. And this is exactly why you need to run in local councils. It's the same. It's always the same. Silence is consent. Make no mistake about that. Silence is consent. If you sit silent, you're consenting to everything they're doing to you. Now, this South Bruce Peninsula Councilor, which is basically the Wyerton area, which is north of me, probably an hour. Now, one time in the past, when they were doing amalgamation, this particular council, which I think was Wyerton Council at the time, they were changing names because of the amalgamations all over the place. But it used to be Wyerton. Now it's South Bruce Peninsula Council. Back in the day, that would have been probably in the 90s when they were doing all the amalgamations. Regionalization, Sovietization, and that's what regionalization is. It's Sovietization. And it's a small group of people looking after bigger and bigger areas so that the people don't have a voice anymore. That's the whole point of this amalgamation nonsense. Like Halifax is not, the city of Halifax, Nova Scotia, doesn't exist anymore. It's the greater region of Halifax, same as Sudbury, Ontario. It's the greater region of Sudbury. These are building states within the state, so to speak. It's the takedown method. So anyways, back during amalgamation, Wyerton didn't want to amalgamate. So the province, who creates the municipalities, which is the parent, which makes the municipality in the child position, said you're going to have to amalgamate, and they said no freaking way. And just to prove that the province has complete and total control over the municipalities, people in the municipalities think that they voted for these people to represent them. They didn't. It's a subsidiary of the main company, which is in this case the province of Ontario. These are regional offices, and people think that these people represent them. No, they don't. They represent the province, and they represent the political party who's running the province at any given time. So you think these people represent you. They represent whatever color party is in control of the province at any given time. So right now, your municipality is a liberal or a democratic, not democratic, what do you call it? Democrats. Municipal council. So if it should change out in the next election, which is this summer coming, and the NDP or the Greens or the Conservatives/Republicans get in, then that is who is in charge of your municipal council, and that's who your councillors represent. They represent whoever's running the province, and they are bound to do whatever the frick the province tells them to do. So this whole thing of municipal council is a complete and total fraud. In fact, the federal government does not recognize municipal government as government. They refer to them as a type of business. They're a tax collection business. Okay, just like the feudal system, which we never left. And I know we never left it because history states we never left it, and the Attorney General's Office of Ontario tells me that we never left the feudal system. So this is just barons collecting taxes, so to speak, as in the old days, the old feudal days. Anyways, so this Gammy guy, I talked to him once, and I got to get him on the air because this is why you need to run for municipal council. Here's Gammy in here, and he's trying to deal with reality when the council, the CAO, and the media are all dealing in fiction, which creates a lot of friction. And the guy's got one vote, and he is the dissenter, so to speak. So we have to get the dissenter. Now, the same thing happened in my municipality here when an old farmer who's on council, the council was beating up on a local businessman, and he went to the assistance of this gentleman. And next thing he knows, he's dragged before a committee with lawyers and everything, and his municipal pay is taken away from him for a period of time, and he's told straight out, do that again, and it will be a lot more harsh on you. In other words, if you attempt to represent the constituents, the so-called constituents, you're going to be bitch slapped a lot harder the next time. So Gammy's been at this for some period of time. And I talked to him on the phone. He's a very quiet-spoken man. But I'm just going to buzz through some of this stuff. This is why it's important that you run in these elections. Now, we have the provincial election coming up in June of this coming year, which I intend to run in. Not that I have a hope in hell of winning, but it gives me an opportunity to speak to a great deal of people that I wouldn't be otherwise able to speak to. That's the whole point. This game is about talking, teaching, and shining the light, waking these people up, getting these people to see, getting these people to understand. These are not people that are going to be listening to online radio shows, okay? These are your normal, I don't even know if that's the proper term, but we'll call them normal. Your normal men and women who are busting their asses trying to keep a roof over their head or keep their bills paid or whatever, who come home at night and watch TV or read newspapers and are completely hoodwinked. If we don't get out there and take these opportunities to speak to these people, then we are remaining silent. Those that know remain silent. Therefore, you're allowing these other people to consent by not speaking up. Now, when you run in these dumbass elections, you get mainstream media, you get mainstream radio, mainstream television, depending where you are, mainstream newspapers, and you can say whatever the hell's on your mind, okay? And it's quite comical, actually. Look at don't get stressed out about it. A lot of people get stressed out. Well, I couldn't run for this or that because I'm not qualified. Well, once you run in a couple elections, you'll realize that nobody else is qualified either. Okay, these are just a bunch of regurgitating, talking head mouthpieces that are incredibly stupid. So you can have a lot of fun. So don't think it's going to be a high-stress game here. Your job is simply to get out there and explain to people what you can't explain to people otherwise. Okay? Take advantage of it. And if you don't take advantage of it, you're guilty. Because if you know what's going on and you ain't got the balls to stand up and do something about it, then as far as I'm concerned, you're more guilty than the ignorant. Because if you have knowledge and you remain silent, you're a threat. Okay, so I'm going to have some fun, you know. The very first all candidates meeting I was when I ran in the 2007 election, provincial election, because I was a little nervous. I mean, I decided to run the last day that you could run, and had no clue what I was getting into. I didn't have any signs, didn't have any brochures. And I was just pissed because I was banned from mainstream media. I used to do a fair bit of mainstream media, but they had to shut me down, shut the voice down. And so I was a little, taken aback by this, having never done anything like this. And I received the most applause at the very first candidates meeting I ever attended. I had to explain to the people after the applause, because they were so happy by what I said, which was complete bullshit. And then I had to explain to the audience that all I did was listen to their bullshit, and then I elevated it. And you're all happy because my bullshit trumped their bullshit, which is the same bullshit, only I had a greater value attached to it. And you were all happy about it. So this is about educating people. And if you know stuff and you're not prepared to go out there and educate people when you're given the opportunity, then you're guilty. Guilty as hell, as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, I'm just going to run through this story about Gammy, who got to get on the show. Like I said, I talked to him once a few months back, and I forgot about him, but I saw a piece in the Owen Sound newspaper a couple days ago or yesterday about a court case, and then when I went to get my coffee this morning, I saw this, and I got to get this guy on the show. The mayor outlines her concerns about Gammy, and this is comedic, because here you have a man that gets it, and all the fictional characters are having a frickin' spaz because they're trying to contain the fraud they're involved in, and this guy's trying to expose it. So they have to try and come down on him any possible way they can. So he got his ass in court right now for assaulting, I think, the deputy mayor. I think he just gave him a bit of a shove or something. Now, Gammy's 68 years old. He's not a big man. But this 68-year-old man has apparently put total and complete fear throughout the council, the CAO's office, and yada, yada, yada. And they're trembling in their boots. Owen Sound, South Bruce Peninsula Mayor Janice Jackson testified at Craig Gammy's bail review hearing Friday that with Gammy's escalating behavior, she fears he might. Are you ready for this? He might. Now, Warren's a little town of about, I don't know, I'm going to say 3,000 people, somewhere in there, maybe 3,500. Ain't a big place. And we're in rural Ontario. And Mayor Janice Jackson testified at Craig Gammy's bail hearing Friday that Gammy's escalating behavior, she fears he might bring a gun to a council meeting. His behavior has only been escalating over the years. For him to cross the line and physically assault someone, in my opinion, was just a matter of time, Jackson said during testimony at the Superior Court Justice Friday. She said she's a witness in that case. Now, Janice Jackson, who's the mayor, tried to get a new water plant into Sauble Beach. Now, Sauble Beach is a summer recreational place on Lake Huron. Now there is I think the year-round the residents there that live there year-round are around 700 people. In the summer, it explodes. Okay, lots and lots of cottages, lots and lots of campgrounds, yada yada yada. It's one of the go-to places along Lake Huron in the summertime. But the mayor went and was trying to sell the idea of needing a new waterworks, which would be paid by the 700 permanent residents, which was, I forget, it was some ridiculous freaking millions and millions and millions of dollars. And her claim was that they had a bad problem of leaking septic tanks. And I believe it was Gammy that called her out on it. And so, what the hell are you talking about? And found out, I'm pretty sure it was Gammy that found this out. I gotta get him, I gotta get a hold of him again. But where in the hell are you coming up with with these numbers, the need for this water system, and where are you coming up with this garbage about all these leaking septic tanks? Well, according to the mayor, Witch Hazel, which is Hazel Lynn, who's in charge of the Grey Bruce Health Department, told her to say that. Okay, now we call her Witch Hazel because this is one evil bitch, one bureaucratic dog who's pushing the UN agendas into the local areas. And the idea is to get these all of these towns and villages and that to spend a whole shitload of money upgrading their water systems, sewer systems, and all that, money they can never pay. There's not enough people and the cost is too high, so that down the road they can be sold off to offshore or international corporations at pennies on the dollar, so that these corporations now control your water systems and your sewer systems and that. So this Mayor Janice Jackson, who's bitching about Gammy, is a complete and total player. So we're into the get Gammy nonsense. And this is why I say you need to run in the local election. You need to go to your community and find some people, as many as you can find, to run. Because we got to change. If you don't challenge the message, then the message is accepted. So you got to challenge that message. Now, I've always said if one runs and gets in, he's in for a rough ride, or she's in for a rough ride, because it's shut up and don't dissent, or you're going to have a rough go. Now, the idea is to fill up the council with people who have some spine, who will say no to the province, and take the time to inform the people in the community of the fraud that's being implemented upon them. Now, if you can't do that, there's no excuse anybody can give me why they can't run for a local council. $100, $100 freaking dollars. I see people walking in the store every day spending $50, $100, $150 on stupid lottery tickets. Just take a week of not buying lottery tickets and put that money down on the table and have some fun. Have some bloody fun. I have somebody bought. Christopher.
Hey.
Sally Sue? Who is this? Sally Sue?
Yeah. I gotta get rid of another program, so I'm gonna have to get rid of you for a sec.
Why? What, you called in to hurt my feelings? You there? I don't know what's cooking. You there, Christopher?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, there you are. I thought you took off on me.
No, I had to get rid of another program that was making noise.
Oh, it would be is it the NASA program to tell you which glacier
that app you
flood
told
your house?
me to look at. I wanted to see which iceberg was going to flood me.
Yeah, I know. It takes a lot of juice on the computers, but it's a very important program. You want that running 24/7, folks. Because you never know when that glacier is going to sneak up behind you and flood your friggin' house. I mean, Alice in Wonderland looks normal.
Well, you're talking about water treatment plants. We just had it was in our paper in my little town of Kingston, Ontario, a $35 million upgrade to a plant that I think we just spent $35 million on 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And
now we'll get it.
Totally automated, totally, they got extra barrels of chlorine and chloramine they can dump in.
Yep. And that was that is being.
I'm going to suggest. I mean, it's a good thing. Other than the fact that probably within about the next 5 years, it's going to be up for sale.
Exactly. Now, what's going on here? You upgraded that system 10 years ago
with our tax dollars.
With your tax dollars, and then the companies that want to buy it look at it again and say, you know what? It's not up to the standard we want because we don't want to have to spend any money on it for the next 25 years. So if you could just go and spend another $35 million of taxpayers' money, feed them whatever line of shit you want to feed them, and get that upgrade, then we'll give you pennies on the dollar. I mean, there's no other example that is better than, what is that highway, the 407? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, the toll
road. The toll road.
Yeah.
Now, that was cost billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to build that frickin' thing. And then it was turned around and sold off to a public or to a private offshore corporation for frickin', I don't know, it was 5-10 cents on the dollar.
Spain or Italy? One of them.
Yeah. I think it was Spain, wasn't it? I think it's a Spanish company. What the hell is a Spanish company in control of our road we built?
Yeah,
but this is the game. It's all being sold off. This is exactly
even if you go half a kilometer on it, you got to. I think it's like a $5 or $8 toll
minimum. Yeah. So your tires touched our road.
The upside is apparently it's in better shape now than it was before they bought it. I guess they
making a lot of cash, right?
They spend about 1% of what they make to upkeep it.
Right, but 1% of what they make.
Yep.
So that's a pretty good cash cow. But I mean, if people don't understand this, you need to go and look at Russia when the wall came or the curtain came down. This is exactly what happened. And people think that it's, we're always talking about the UN, but the UN is the same people that set up the UN were the same people that took Russia down. Okay, and when they brought that Iron Curtain down, so there was only one major power now, so they could globalize everything. Everything was sold off. Okay, pennies on the dollar. A lot of people got really, really rich. Not the people that built the stuff, not the people that lived there, but international corporations and that, and politicians. Okay, lots of politicians because they're all part and part of this game. Because you couldn't have sold it off if it hadn't been for the politicians. So we've sold off our electricity system, which was targeted, and now they're having the taxpayers spend all of this money to upgrade everything, in particular waters and sewers. We have a French company, I forget what it's called, floating around. I've seen their trucks around, and they're a major buyer of sewer and water systems. So yeah, you upgrade it, they'll buy it. But this Gammy guy, he's such a soft-spoken guy, right? And this story here is just amazing, you know.
I heard he has guns.
No, he doesn't have a gun.
Oh.
The mayor is afraid that he might bring a gun to council meetings. Okay.
Well, that means you have a gun.
Oh, well, this is the thing, right?
Okay.
So they're doing bail and stuff right now, I guess, and trying to figure out how to get him back into council, because if you miss 3 months of council, you're automatically out of council. So apparently this guy is got so much fear into these people that they've put up security cameras and special locked doors and all this kind of stuff because of the fear. The only thing they're fearing is the voice of truth, and that's what's fearing them. It's the same thing when I used to go to the council meetings. I always had the police chief follow me around with a gun everywhere I went, and You know, it was just total fear in that place when I walked in. I never harmed anybody. They're just fearful of the truth. And we got to get the truth to rise. Once the truth rises, these guys got nowhere to go. They're going to run to the hills like a bunch of cockroaches. And if you don't eradicate the cockroaches or run them off, you're going to have cockroaches. And, you know, unless you like living with cockroaches, most people don't. The idea is to shine a light on the cockroach because they don't like light. And this is what Gammy's trying to do. And they're doing everything in their power to run his ass out of there. So I'm going to get him on the show. Not today, but I will call him probably after the show and set something up so we can have some comedic value on the show as he tells stories, which I'm sure are going to be funnier than hell. You know, it's like when I walked in, and I mean, that's still stuck in my brain. It was so ridiculous. I mean, they tried everything to intimidate me, and it wasn't working. And when I went in there, then they start the intimidation doesn't work, so they're going to try to start to patronize me, try to get me on side, and that certainly isn't going to work. But you know, when I walked into the council that day and into the building, and all of the staff came out of their offices, and mostly women. They were all women in the treasury and that, and came out and, oh, hi, Ron, how are you? How's everything going? And you know, I just looked at them and said, you know, I'm doing great. And how's Satan's little helpers? And they just cowered. They, oh, we wish you wouldn't say that. Well, hey, you got to call it as you see it, right? Now, I never had to yell at any of these people. Just when I walk in, they all start shaking in their boots. They're afraid of the truth. And if we don't bring the truth to them, then whose fault is it? Ours. So if you're going to fix things, you need to step it up. If you know and you remain silent, then you're more guilty than the ignorant. You know, we need to become, I guess, what you would call the sheep herders, right? We need to move the sheep. I mean, the wolf is tracking the sheep, and the sheep don't know it. Sheep ain't real bright. And so think of yourself as a border collie. Border collies are pretty bright. You know, we're the ones that have to lead the sheep, because the sheep are being led to the slaughter. And if we don't step up to the plate, then we've allowed the sheep to be slaughtered. And that would be our fault, not the evil side's fault. That would be our fault. So we need to get involved in this. But some of the,
So I don't know. I don't want to take you off topic unless
I don't even want to be on a topic today.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It was mentioned in the chat earlier. I was seeing I believe it's Missouri. They're going to legalize marijuana. I didn't realize. I just kind of breezed through it really quick. They're going to legalize marijuana, but if you have a DUI charge, you won't be allowed to be a producer of marijuana. I don't know why. Like, I mean, obviously that's preposterous on the outset, but it's funny because here, part of, and I think this was mentioned on your show before, they are coming up with like an intoxilizer for pot.
Are they really?
And you don't necessarily have to be stoned, but if you still have some in your system,
right,
you can be, charged and have your vehicle.
Well, yeah,
stolen.
It's all about the money, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I just find this whole thing is just from the onset. I mean, people got to say, wait a minute, this is not a good idea. We keep it illegal. I'll just buy it from my drug dealer.
Well, yeah, to be legal is far safer than being legal, right?
Exactly.
Far safer, and you probably get a lot better quality product too.
Oh, you will. Won't be GMO'd.
Yeah, so, you know, that list you sent me, I haven't had time to go through it with a fine-tooth comb yet, but a lot of those names I knew were already involved in it. But you have the head guys from the RCMP, top cops from Ontario, top cops across the nation, who were they're all tangled up with the UN. And now the same guys that were the same people who were throwing people in jail all these years now are in the business.
The devil weed.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's a godsend. Well, for them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's money in their pocket, lots of money in their pocket. So, but they're still going to bust your ass because they're coming out with those new machines to tell you weed in your system. So they're still going to throw your ass in jail or kick at the snot out of you. So the whole idea of busting you before was revenue. The whole idea now is revenue. But this time the government has figured out how to put most of the revenue in its pocket. And now if you have two plants and you say, well, I think I'll roll the joint out of that plant, they'll say, no, you can't do that. It's an illegal plant. You have to use our weed because our weed's legal. Wait a minute. Aren't they the same plant? Well, yeah, but that one's illegal. Wait a minute. But this one's better quality. This one's better quality. I don't care. It's illegal. It's no different than the thing with Michael Schmidt with the milk. This is legal milk, which is bastardized milk, and this is good milk, but this milk's illegal, and this milk's legal. So the quality's lower. It's terrible, garbage, but we control it, and therefore that's all you can drink. You can't drink that, and you can't smoke that plant. You can smoke this plant because we're all making a ton of cash off it. And should you go to the other side, well, you're fair game for us, and we're going to drag your ass in court. I mean, it doesn't take a very intelligent mind to figure out this is mob.
The scam.
It's mafioso, right?
Yeah.
If you do this, we'll thump your ass.
We had a guest on your show not too long ago, Jason Lamont.
Yeah, I enjoyed that show.
Military Medal of Valor recipient. I'm telling you, Ron, that guy can smoke a bong every 5 minutes, and he's sober as a judge.
But it's all medicinal, right?
And that's because he's allowed to do it because that's he's playing their game. He's playing their game, which is okay. But I got other friends that actually do the same thing, and they drive all day long. They work, they do everything. They're fine because they've done it for so freaking long. I can't. If I smoke one bong, but I'm on the couch like a zombie, because I don't smoke, right?
I don't either.
But when I do, man, especially if it's good pot. I'm done. I'm baked. But these guys are going to be the ones getting pulled over, and you wouldn't even know they smoked.
No.
Unless you make up this pretend in Poxalizer.
But that goes back to the same thing when I was talking to the lawyer at the Attorney General's office, that everything they do in the legal system is against the law because it all causes harm, and it's the same thing what you're talking about with these guys that are smoking, and I asked him to just come up with one incidence of some rule, regulation, statute, whatever that they passed in the legislature that actually didn't cause harm by reducing people's freedoms or taking money out of their pocket for licensing and whatnot. And so he thought for a while, and there's hundreds of thousands of these rules, regulation, statutes and stuff. And he came up with the DUI law. And I said, no, that doesn't cut it either because that's just arbitrary. And he said, what are you pro drunk driving? I said, absolutely not. But I mean, if you think about it, it's just what you're talking about, Chris, is that a body builds up a resistance regardless of what drug you're taking, and alcohol is a drug, and you build up a resistance to it. So when I explained it to him that, if you have a 250-pound construction worker who's been drinking 6 beers a day since he was 18, he could have 6 beers and get pulled over and blow over and be perfectly frickin' sober. And somebody, like you're just explaining, that if you smoke the bomb, you're on the couch, and these other guys doesn't seem to affect them. And so now they're going to blow over, and or whatever this thing they're going to use, and they're going to get busted.
Yeah,
even though they're not impaired.
They get their vehicle stolen. They go to
That's
jail.
right, but they are most definitely not impaired.
Fine. And I mean, I would probably rather have that guy driving a transport than most of the friggin' turban heads or the Muslims that are driving now.
Oh, now, that's becoming racist.
Well, I know it's not.
I'm just kidding about that.
Oh, I know.
This is why we like UCY.TV. Say what's on your mind, right? And don't worry about censorship. And that's why I like this so very much. You can just say what's on your mind. So, what do you think? I'm going to phone the police again today. We didn't get through to last night. I guess I phoned about 11:30. I guess they don't answer the phone after 11 or something.
There's no emergencies after 11, Ron.
I guess not. But this I should throw this. See, Superior Court Justice Lucy K. Sweeney is trying to balance the Crown's concern over victim and witness safety among some staff and town councillors who say they are fearful of Gammy, with finding a way to allow Gammy to do his job of representing citizens who elected him. Now, this is coming out of the mouth of a judge, okay? Now, he doesn't represent any citizen, okay? And no citizen elected him or anybody else. And this is coming out of a judge, but then it's a judge in the legal system, which is a fictional system, saying that he's representing someone when he's not, because a man or a woman doesn't operate in their system. And no man or woman has ever voted in this country. Okay, the only thing that is capable of voting is a registered person, which is what they made up, which is a fictional corporate entity, and so you vote as a proxy for what they created. So here we have a judge that completely just full of crap, right? When a judge says, that's a Superior Court justice, do his job representing citizens who elected him. None of that's true, and that's coming out of the mouth of a Superior Court justice. So they're going to try and hook up some video or some remote cameras and that, so that he can stay at home and still attend the council meetings. But the mayor wants it put over, and that they wouldn't be able to do it right away because they'd have to have some legislature or whatever to accommodate the request, and said they wouldn't be able to do it till after the new year. But January would be too late. If the defense submission is correct, that Gammy would be de-elected automatically under the Municipal Act by missing 3 months of meetings in the absence of a council resolution excusing his absence. So you've got the mayor in that trying to drag this out so that he's automatically de-elected. I mean, these people are so crooked, it's ridiculous. And this is why we need other voices but I'm going to get this guy on the show. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Asked who else is fearful of Gammy, she replied, the entire Treasury Department. Well, they're afraid of me too, which includes 7 women. Why? His behavior in town hall in general can be very combative and harassing. Well, no, he's frustrated. He's trying to tell the truth. He's trying to point out to the staff that they're involved in a massive fraud, right? And being weak as they are, and a fearful bunch, they cower in the corner. And so everybody now feels threatened. You can call up any government agency and ask them a serious question, and they'll say that they feel threatened and they don't want to continue the conversation, or they feel uncomfortable. I've had I don't know how many government agencies who call up and they say, well, I'm not feeling comfortable now, right? Whoa. What do you mean you're not feeling comfortable? We're having a conversation here, right? And that's their out, right? You know. So they've dragged Gammy out of different meetings in handcuffs and that. And Jackson said Gammy taunted her, and Jackson, being the mayor, taunted her and said, "You're afraid of me. You're afraid of me." And she said, "I'm not afraid of you, sir," which I was proud of her for standing up to him. Whoever is involved in that, or maybe the clerk. My clerk up here, the clerk up at our municipality. She reminds me of the. She really truly does. She reminds me of the scene out of the Blues Brothers where they go up the stairs to see the nun. Then the door opens automatically, and the nun comes sliding out to the door, but it's like her feet don't move. This is what my clerk up here reminds me of. These people are evil to the freaking core, and they're working to take us down, and we can't just sit around and allow them to do so. So when
my
you get
visual picture of that is creeping me out. I'm afraid.
I was up there now. I was up there one time. I forget what it was about. I was talking to the deputy clerk or something. She said, well, I think you need to talk to the clerk. And I said, is she even around? So the door to her office opened, and she was wearing this long, kind of knitted gray outfit, nunnish kind of thing. And the door opened, and I swear, her feet didn't move, man. She just kind of slid over and appeared in the doorway. And I go, whoa.
Well, that's not a positive way to get people to get down to City Hall and speak their voice.
They don't want anybody. They don't want anybody coming.
Damien.
The whole idea is that they're a closeted deal where they don't want anybody coming there. People don't go to council meetings, right? They don't want them there, and the only time people do go is really if they're being screwed over, and then once they go there, they find out that there ain't nobody up there that has their best interest at heart, so they stop going, and they just get this dumbass attitude. Well, there's nothing we can do. They'll do whatever they want. Well, only if you allow them to do that, and you got to stay on them, right? And this is what Gammy's been doing all this time, staying on top of them, and they can't handle it. So the only way that they can do it, because the cops are involved in this nonsense, the cops' job, because the cops are contracted by the municipality pays the cops. So once they've centered a guy out like Gammy here, they're going to stay on him like dirt, man. And every time he breathes, they're going to try and get at him. So this guy needs support. He's actually the good guy, and all the rest of them are the bad guys. And once you dissent, I mean, I talked to a young guy that was asked to leave the school, not because he was a problem, because he was simply asking questions. And you don't want someone asking pertinent questions because it might encourage others to ask questions, and we can't have that. So he was actually, I think he was in grade 10 or something, was actually asked if he would leave because he was being a problem, not in that he was acting up or anything, Just simply, his crime was asking real questions, looking for real answers. And they couldn't give him the real answers, and they didn't want the other students picking up on what he was learning. So he's doing his school through correspondence now. And so this whole game is, you know the game. I mean, it's the Marxist game, right? You just deal with dissent, right? And you jump on them and run them out, and then we can keep moving along with our program. So I got to take my hat off to Gammy, because he's been run through the mill here a bunch of times, and he ain't backing down, and that's what I call a man. That's a man with some spine, because it's much easier for him to just lay down, collect his paycheck, and shut up. It would be much easier. But he ain't prepared to do that, because obviously he gets what's going on. And I think what really got him going was this nonsense about the new water works, or the new water and sewer works, because you know, there's no way that these few people, 700 or whatever permanent residents, could have possibly afforded this. Their tax bills would have had to go through the freaking roof. And so the mayor got outed on it, and then just said Witch Hazel. And I can call her Witch Hazel, because I've met her on different occasions. And
Well,
she's definitely a witch.
I can interject here. You've got issues with your
What?
mic or something. You've got background noise.
Oh, I have people talking in the kitchen.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's right on your computer or your setup.
Well, how is it now?
You're cleaner now. You fixed it.
All right. Well, I got to get my headset's falling apart. I got to get a new headset. I got her taped up pretty good, so I've had to tear it apart a couple of times, rewire it. They don't make things like they used to, right? This is my new headset is from China, so that stuff isn't made to last a long time. So I'll have to get a new one or whatever. No, my mic was sliding on me, so I tried to move it, and I guess it was making a little kickback or whatever.
You're good now.
So what do you want to do? When am I going to phone the cops?
You want to call?
I was talking when I went to get my coffee this morning. I was talking to a girl working there, right? And she was asking me if I knew what happened up at the gas station last night. And I had no idea. And so we went outside for a quick smoke or a half a smoke or whatever she gets to have before another customer comes along. And you know, so where the hell's your radio show? And I go, how can I listen to this thing, right? And I says, and we were talking about how ridiculous the police have become, right? They're like, you know, loaded for bear Keystone cops now. And I says, well, you know, at some point in the show, I'm going to call the Windsor Police and probably Crime Stoppers as well. And so I said, I know what I'll do. Because she's pissed off too, right? Like she said, what the hell's going on, right? Like, you know, I was outside having a smoke one time and somebody started ragging on me, right? Like, what is your problem? She's saying to them, right? Well, you can't smoke near me, right? Well, I was here first. Go away, right? Like, what's wrong with all these people? But she was, you know, I mentioned Michael Schmidt, and she said, well, what is all that shit about? She says, I grew up on cow's milk and cow's butter and all that kind of stuff. What is the problem? I said, the problem is that the government decides what you can and cannot ingest. And she said, this is my private property. Nobody can tell me what I can put in my face. Nobody. And I said, well, that's the right attitude. But they believe that they have the authority somehow to tell you what you can and cannot consume. And you can only consume what they tell you you consume. You can consume, I guess this coming summer, government weed, but not the weed you've been smoking all along. That's now off the table. And the same thing with the milk, the same thing with everything. They tell you what you can and cannot put in your body. Now, that is, if that doesn't wake anybody up, I don't know what would. You know, if you just think about it, you're going to eat a sandwich, and they've banned ham now because Islam's running your country, and you like ham, and you've been eating ham all your life, or bacon, or pork, and now all of a sudden it offends someone, so it's legislated that you can't eat it. Same thing. And you're going to say, what? I can't have bacon? No, you can have eggs, but you can't have bacon. Well, this is ridiculous. Well, hey, it was legislated. Oh. What the fuck is this legislated stuff, right? They can tell you any stupid thing. You know, you can't fart on Tuesdays between 7 and 9 o'clock, and if you get caught farting between 7 and 9 o'clock, you're going to get a ticket. Why? Well, the scientists did a data thing, and when they went through all the data, they found out that Tuesdays between 7 and 9 p.m. is a very sensitive CO2 window. And if you're farting between 7 and 9 on Tuesdays, then you're exasperating the CO2 emission and melting the glaciers, which of course are going to flood your house. Did you get the NASA app yet? I mean, this is so fucking ridiculous. It's you can't even make this shit up. But they do. They make it up every day. And people bow down to this shit. Why? I have no idea. That's why I got to get this Gammy guy on the show. Here's a man who has been dragged through the mud for the last 7 years, and he's still standing. He's in court, but he's still standing. Now, if he had, I don't know how many counselors are there, probably 5 or 7. So if that council had 3 or 5 people on side with Mr. Gammy, they would have the majority vote. And that makes all the difference in the world, because he wouldn't be in court right now. And if we don't stand up for each other, if we don't stand up with those that are trying to stand up, then we're guilty. Simple as that. We're accessories to the crime. And the crime is the destruction of your nation by a bunch of freaking Marxist assholes, of which we're just letting them go on their merry way with no pushback. So again, we don't have any reason to criticize. We don't have any reason to complain. We have no right to criticize or complain, because we know what the hell they're up to, and we just sit on the sidelines and remain quiet. And silence is consent, so we're guilty. I'm going to throw this little story. So I live up in rural Ontario, which is a pretty quiet little place, but I mean, this is the kind of crap that's going on, not just here, but everywhere. There isn't a municipality or a county that this same garbage is not taking place in. And the people, you know, some people say, oh, well, Gammy's doing a great job. He's trying to stand up for us. Well, he's not being allowed to stand up for you. So why don't you back him up? Oh, I don't want to get involved. Well, you know, if you give him time, they're going to run his ass out of there. Somebody must like what he's doing, because he's been voted in more than once. But he needs backup. So you need to, you know, if you live in that area, you need to join the man and stand up beside him, with him, not behind him. I hate people that stand, oh, I'm behind him. Well, you're useless then, right? You ain't standing shoulder to shoulder, then you have no consequence whatsoever, because you are on the fence, and you will get off whatever side of the fence is less difficult for you, which means you're of no use to anybody whatsoever. Now, What you live in a town of what 100 and how big's Kingston? 130,000 people or something?
Well, before amalgamation, it was about 60,000, but we're up to about 130 now. Yeah, we're amalgamating to be a global society.
Yeah. Pretty soon, Kingston will be amalgamated to take in the entirety of the planet, right?
Well, we'll be amalgamated with Toronto, and then from there we'll Winnipeg, Vancouver.
I like this. Somebody put something in the chat here. I don't think Buddha trusted the Jews either. Well, I don't think anybody trusted damn Jews. The history states so. The history. Where the Jews go, nothing good happens, unless, of course, you're a Jew. But everybody else suffers. I know the Hindi gurus call them out for what they are. Well, that's our job, remaining silent. This idea of if I say something negative about a Jew, I'm guilty of anti-Semitism. Well, I am guilty of anti-Semitism because when you look up the definition of it, if you look up the definition of anti-Semite, then if you're not that, which is people who, an anti-Semite is someone that doesn't like the undue influence that the Jews have in politics, media, banking, and all the rest of it. So if you're not an anti-Semitic, you're an idiot. You don't get it. And then this idea of racism, if you look at the Talmud, anybody that's not a Jew is a piece of dirt. Cattle, animals, dogs, whatever. So, I mean, who's the racist here? You got the Jewish population calling everybody that's not a Jew something very derogatory. So it is the Jews that are the racists, and they need to be called out on that. Let's go get them. And like I said last night, this idea that Canada is based on a Judeo-Christian society, that makes no sense, because Judaism hates Christians. So how is it you're based on this? Well, it's just like they said, we're the cattle, we're the chattel, we're the things they live off of, we're the things they indebted, we're the goyim. So if it's a Judeo-Christian society, that means that the Jew comes first and stands above the Christian, which is the goyim, which the Jew don't like, but he likes to use for his profit. Then the last thing you ever want to be is a Judeo-Christian society. So now it's...
It came from the Schofield Bible, didn't it?
Huh?
The Schofield Bible, to suggest that they were God's chosen, right? They bastardized it, made it their own, and
yeah. They're just full of shit. They're the great deceivers. But that was the first guy that when God kicked that jackass out, right, and he hit the ground and said, "I'm going to destroy your creation." The first one, because according Satan, Lucifer, whoever, has no ability to do anything himself, so he has to get little helpers. That's why I called my Treasury Department Satan Little Helpers, because apparently Satan can't do none of this shit himself, but through deception, he can get others to do his work for him. So I swear the first bunch of people he ran into when he landed here was the Jew. And hey, you guys got them long kind of crookedy noses there. You look like you could get into this business. You want to take over the world and run and everything and have everybody else work for you and be slave to you? Yeah. Sign here. And away we went. But I see a little message in here. It says here, I'm a lone frog. Okay. Says here at UCY we prefer Goy. That's not a bad idea. We ought to start up we ought to change the name from UCY to Goy. Okay, because the one thing about the Goy is there's a lot of us.
UCYGoy.tv.
Yeah. Welcome to Goyim Radio. And maybe we could get some famous Jews to come on the show. It'll be fun. Who knows? But no. So now we're changing to because the Jews in charge. So now we're going from a Judeo-Christian society to a Judeo-Islamic society. Make no mistake about it. And we don't want to go there, so we need to push it back. We need to get hard at it. No more quiet. No more just laying down and letting it roll over top of us. We can't allow that to happen. And
there's a girl, John.
Huh?
There's a girl, very, very, very pretty. I love white women. They're just very pretty. I'm getting old, but I'm still young at heart. But she does some good YouTube stuff, but I can't find her right now. But I was watching some of her stuff, and
so I think I know who you're talking about.
Like you talk, okay? I love this girl. I mean, she's beautiful, and
she got black hair.
Yeah.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember what her name is. I've seen a couple of her videos.
Did I send you some of her stuff?
You may have. I've ran into her before as well.
Well, the thing
I don't do a lot. I don't watch a lot of YouTube.
She does a segment, just goofing around. She does a segment on how to make bacon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I watched that just for the fun of it. She was just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
She said, you got a problem here. She said, I'm going to teach you how to make bacon. First, you put your pan on the stove, and she goes through the whole process. Make sure you use paper towel, and oh man, I love her. And she's gorgeous too. I want to marry her, but I can't get a hold of her. But,
yeah, she's
a mean bacon.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I read a recipe once before about to make bacon. You had to gut a Muhammad and hang it in the smokehouse for a month or so. Oh no, that's Islamic bacon. Shit. No, I'm just sick of this crap. Right? Enough is enough. Goy tube. Yeah, behind that's Hal. We'll fire up Goy tube. Good idea. But I wish I had some. I wish I could play music through here. I don't have a soundboard or nothing. I could really use a smoke. But it's snowing out, which would be okay. But the wind's coming in the window, and I'm tethered to a headset. So I think I'm about to have I think there's blood coming out of my ears. I'm not addicted to nicotine, but...
Suck it up, soldier.
There's... anyways, what do you say we call the Windsor Police and discuss that article in Windsor about the pro-Islamic graffiti that is apparently causing as much or more problem than the anti-Islamic graffiti caused. So apparently, if you're in the city of Windsor and you see anti-Islamic graffiti, you should be disgusted, abhorred, freaked out, and run and get a paintbrush. In fact, I think they're putting out a notice now, passing a new bylaw in Windsor, that everyone must carry a can of paint and a roller with them, or a brush, so that if they do see any anti-Islamic graffiti, they can immediately cover it up.
And if you don't have that paintbrush and paint in hand, you could be fined.
Well, that's it. That's the new bylaw. You have a duty to cover up any anti-Islamic graffiti, but that's okay. But now we have a problem with pro-Islamic graffiti. You have to cover that up too. So just like in the old Jew land, it doesn't matter what you say. If you mention Jew, there must be something nefarious attached to it, or you wouldn't say the word. So now we can't say Islam, good or bad, in Windsor, Ontario. It divides the community. And I mean, I love this thing. I mean, you couldn't get any more ridiculous than this news piece out of Windsor, Ontario. If I can find it again, where the hell did I have that? Here it is. Pro-Islam graffiti called a hate-mongering plot. And you're supposed to phone the Windsor police to send out a tweet. So the police are tweeting now in response to the graffiti and calling it concerning. Defacing, this is from the Windsor police, defacing property is a crime. But when its purpose is to divide our community, it is even more concerning. And that's from the Windsor police. So I'm going to throw this in. People weren't listening to the show last. I mean, this is beyond stupid. So they got to get called on it, and I think we should call Crime Stoppers and ask them to stop the police from being involved in crime, which they are, because this is the old bait and switch nonsense. Okay, like I said last night, I was at a Muslim youth meeting in which we had 2 hours to discuss stuff, and they agreed that that Islam will be both the world religion and the world law, would be Sharia. So that's already been fed into their heads. So the idea that the police are running around looking for those putting pro Islam graffiti out and calling it a hate-mongering plot, this is right out of the Jew playbook. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, we know the Jews are completely hooked up with the Muslims, and now the Muslims are hooked up with indigenous people to help push reconciliation, which is nothing more than the eradication of our history and our society. So that's basically the game plan. But to call the red graffiti with the hashtag, quote, Islam will rule the world, has been popping up around the west side of Windsor, and it has police and religious groups concerned. Well, all of the religious groups have all gone back to the Pope and the Catholic Church, which began back in 1962, I think it was, the Vatican II, and ever since then, they have been bringing all of the churches back under the fold of the Catholic Church, the Vatican, the Pope, which are the entities that our forefathers understood and started up the Protestant movement and kicked Rome, the Vatican, and the Catholic Church in the teeth hard. But being the weasels they are, they just keep working away at it, and over generations, like 500 years since the Reformation, they have managed to weasel their way back into a position of power. And now We hear the Pope pushing Islam. The United Nations is pushing Islam. Islam has now taken the place of, or risen to the position of being the religion and the law that will be the universal human rights. And that's, and again, if you haven't read the Cairo Declaration of 1990, please do, and look up some other documents attached to it, and you will find that the universal human rights means Islamic rights globally.
Yeah, but
and that's why the West is being flooded. Not with glaciers.
It's okay to be white, isn't it?
No, it's not okay to be white. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be, no, let me rephrase that. It's okay to be white as long as you are a white Muslim who will bow to Sharia law.
No, I'm thinking of signs. You're talking about stop, and I'm thinking of the ones that just put up those signs. It's okay to be white. I think that's the signs they put up.
Well, if I put up
over that,
if I went and I did
that was a setup, by the way, but
if I went and did a bunch of stop signs that said "Stop Islam," it would be all over the media. They'd have Detective Clouseau looking around with his little magnifying glass there, trying to figure out who wrote this thing. But if I was putting on the stop sign "Stop Whitey" or "Stop Christianity," it would not get any play, and if it did get any play, it would be positive play. So, you know, there's things you can say and things you can't say. If you say something against the agenda you're pushing, it'll be a problem. If you say, you know, "Stop Whitey," people will smile at that sign. You know, that's just the way it is. So by going pro-Islam graffiti, first the problem was anti-Islamic graffiti was a problem, and the citizens in that were covering it up. Ooh, we don't want anything that turns our great city, divide our communities, and turn one against the other. Really? Well, then quit this influx, this invasion that's going on, and you won't have that problem. But the church is all one again, and it's all under the satanic rule of the Catholics and the Pope is a Jesuit. And if that don't wake you up, I don't know what would. So now they come out, so they got both sides covered now. So if anything that mentions Islam is a problem, be it pro or anti. Pro-Islam graffiti called a hate-mongering plot. Well, who's the plotters?
Going back to that Ford channel, I think, did that. Remember they put out the "It's okay to be white" signs all over the place.
Right.
Yeah. You know, but I'm trying to put the two together here now. We got "Stop Islam," but then we got the Ford channel. I don't know for good or bad, whatever. I think they did a good thing there. They, you know, it's okay to be white. And then it brought out the worst in the lefties, I guess, if that's what you call them, leftist leaning people.
Well, you know, the thing I have, okay, on the one sense that it's okay to be white, you know, might get people who are white to go, well, yeah, it's okay to be white. On the other hand, I find it demeaning. My attitude would be, hey, our forefathers and we built this country. The rest of you can go fuck off would be a better sign. Don't come in here and fuck with us, okay? Because we ain't gonna put up with it. It would be a more direct message. Then, well, I find it's okay to be white, to be rather spineless. It's almost apologetic.
No, I think I don't know. I disagree with you on that.
Well, I know you do.
No, he was saying all these other things. Let's just see what happens if we say it's okay to be white. And that's just.
Well, if you think about it, why you think about this? It's okay to be white. What the hell's that even supposed to mean?
Well,
what does that even mean? It's okay to be white.
What the reaction would be? It's okay to be Muslim.
Well, not in my country, it's not. You can be whatever you want. Just don't try and come in here and take over everything we built.
Well, that's part and parcel to why that was put up.
So it's okay to be white is, to me, rather, I mean, I get the message, okay? On the one sense, it helps people maybe to say, yeah, what the hell's going on, right? But on the other, it's not a really strong message. But then maybe you're right. Maybe because I always say that, our society has become, a weak spirit, mind, and spine. Maybe that will help them somewhat to say maybe we do have a duty, maybe we should pay attention. But it's still, to me, a rather weak message. We're overrun with the LGBTQ, we're overrun with the Muslims, we're overrun with the Idle No More, we're overrun with Black Lives Matter, all the rest of this horse shit, all coming out of the Marxist UN, which is the Jewish nonsense, all this multiculturalism, which they fired up, which can only be made to destroy a nation, which is the whole plan.
Well, point.
So then, after all of this shit that's been coming at us for all these years, you got somebody standing there with a sign going, "It's okay to be white."
Okay, well, Ron,
all I'm saying is it's not a strong message. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Well, I'll make it stronger. I'm going to call 4Channel, and I'm going to say, now I want you to put up, it's okay to be a white heterosexual.
Oh, now you're going to jail.
Man with a wife and children.
Now you're going to jail. You crossed all lines there, buddy. You've really crossed all lines. I'm going to call the cops in Windsor. I'm going to call the same number I called last night. But
I'm going to mute or else I'll go to jail.
What?
I said I'm muting or else I'm going to go to jail.
No, you're not going to go to jail. This is interesting stuff. I mean, they're the ones that want they want you to call them. They ask you to call them, so I'm going to call them. I mean, I have a freaking duty to call the Windsor Police because they don't want whoever it is that is trying to destroy the good people of Windsor and the community.
Police service. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Please enter the 4-digit extension number of the person you are trying to reach. If you do not know their extension number, please press 1 and begin to enter the person's last name. If you require assistance or are calling from a rotary dial phone, please stay on the line. Thank you.
Well, I
transferring to an attendant. One moment, please.
Main office, Constable Heiser.
Hello, is this the Windsor Police?
Yes.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. I don't know if you can help me. You got to put me over to somebody different. I was reading an article in the Windsor paper about pro-Islam graffiti called a hate-mongering plot. You aware of that?
Yeah, down at the river.
I just said the west side of Windsor. Said the west side.
River?
Is that where it was? I don't know.
Yes.
I just have a story here that says the west side of Windsor or something, which I guess is the river, isn't it? It would be.
Down at the river.
What, on a bridge or something?
No, not by the bridge. It's just down at the river in one of the parks.
What exactly did they write on? Like a picnic table or something?
Well, there was a picture. There was a picture in the Windsor Star of what they wrote on.
Oh, okay, because I don't have that particular story. I can go look at. It's in the Windsor Star. But anyways, is there somebody that's in charge of that, or?
Probably detectives.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who's in charge of it, but did you want to talk to them?
Yeah, if they're handy.
All right, I'll put you up to the detectives. Hang on.
Yeah.
Is there, like, you have information on who did it or something?
Well, possibly. Possibly.
Well, what does that mean, possibly?
Well, I think
Either
I may
you do
know.
or you don't.
I think I have an idea who may be involved in that. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the how positive are you of it, or you just think you know somebody that might be involved in it? Like, how do you know what's your evidence that shows that you know who it is? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just trying to figure out your question here. Do you mean if it was it Bill or Susan that did it? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, like,
no,
how do you know who
I
did
can't.
it?
Well, can I talk to whoever's in charge of this?
I don't know who's in charge of it, and I can't.
You just told me you did. You
asked
me if you asked me if you wanted me to transfer. You wanted to transfer me to.
Yeah.
You already told me that. What are you doing?
Yeah, to the detectives.
Fine. And you asked me if you want me to transfer. You want to be transferred over? Sure.
But I
don't want to sit
know,
here and
but
play. I don't want to sit here and play this stupid game with you. If you have a detective that's in charge of this, and put me over to the detective, and I'll talk to the detective. Please and thank you very much. I'm not going to sit here and dick around with
Detective Bauer here.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
How are you?
Good. What can I do for you?
Yeah. What's your name? Detective who?
Bauer.
Yeah. Pleased to meet you. I read this story. I think it was on. I think it's Blackburn News. And I was just wanting to discuss this story that I read.
Which one would that be?
Well, of the pro-Islamic. This is the story I got. Pro-Islam graffiti called hate-mongering plot. You aware of that?
I really can't understand you. What did you say?
It says here, pro-Islam graffiti called hate-mongering plot. And it says red graffiti with the hashtag Islam will rule the world has been popping up around the west side of Windsor.
Okay, yeah, we're
as
familiar with that.
Religious groups concerned. You aware of that?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So the problem is, I guess, because in this story, it's just on Blackburn News, so it's a short story, but there was a problem apparently that there was a problem with anti-Muslim graffiti prior, and then that was covered up, and now all of a sudden we have pro-Islam graffiti, which is somehow.
So what's the point here?
The point is that it appears that whether the graffiti is pro-Islam or anti-Islam, they're both negative.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to the investigation, or are you just making a point here?
Well, I'm making a point, and I'm going to make an observation.
Unless you have a.
I'm going to make an observation.
Not interested in observations.
Well, then I will make what? Well, then I will tell you. Then I will tell you who's involved in the hate-mongering plot of pro-Islam graffiti.
And how would you know this?
How do I know this? Well, I've been a researcher since about the age of 12. And
unless I'm not worried about your research, unless you physically are aware that a source we could talk to that says we know who's doing this.
Well, I'll talk to the church, talk to the council, city council. They're involved.
I appreciate your time. If you have anything to add, just go to Crime Stoppers. Thank you.
I guess I'll call them next. Well, that was fun. So the police...
You got wrecked.
The police are up to their arse in this. Well, no, this is kind of what I expected.
I know.
They don't want to... I'll go Crime Stoppers. But this is the whole thing, okay? I mean, if I said that I think Bill...
Do you have a number for Crime Stoppers, Ron?
I'm just getting it right now.
Yeah, no, because they will actually try and talk to you nicer because they want your donation.
Oh, really? No, but this is the thing with the police, okay? The police are up to their arse in this, okay? They know exactly what the fuck's going on, okay? They are contracted by the city of Windsor, okay? So this is just a game to shut down any mention of Islam, basically in graffiti that says, Islam will rule the world, which people go, wait a minute, I thought these were just nice people. So if it's anything truthful to do with Islam, it's going to get shut down. And the police are up to their arses in this. I mean, think about your police force, folks. Your police force is contracted by the municipality. The police police the police. Nobody can tell the police what to do. Okay? So they're on board with the municipality. They are hired by the municipality. They do as they're told by the municipality. That's why you have police running around in these gay pride parades. Okay? Any program that is being used to push agendas to undermine our society, you will find the police are involved in. So let's see what Crime Stoppers. You think they'll be nicer because they want a donation? Well, that'd be interesting. Let's see. See what we got here. But see, this is what Gammy's going through, okay? And this is why I want to get him on the show. I mean, this nonsense. He apparently gets it, and he's trying to explain this, and he's being jumped on something bad, right? Like the police don't want anybody to tell them what's going on about this pro-Islam stuff. Oh, what the hell is that, a fax machine? Oh, whoa. We don't want that. And I want to know who came up with that stupid fax noise anyways.
You dialed the wrong number.
No, I called the phone number and got a fax machine, so let's phone the fax machine and see if we get a phone number. See if they got it asked backwards here, which will give me something else to talk to them about. But this is what, like people, I call, the AG's office, I call the Premier's office, call the Lieutenant Governor's office, I call the Commissioner of Police Officers. You got to stay on these people, because if you don't call them out, if you don't make them uncomfortable, they just figure they got a free ride. And they, as soon as you, or I say, what the frick? Now, if I'm looking for, to stop crime, and I phone both their phone numbers, and they're both a fax machine, how do I stop crime? Well, let's try this number up here.
Go to the one where you want to donate, and somebody will answer.
Well, it should be contact. It should be pretty simple here. I will have to call this a number of which I can't copy for some oddball reason. Let's go to the home number here. Oh, that's a picture. It won't let me copy it. So let's see. We'll bang this number in. And I'm sure we can get through on this one. Let's see here. 100. What is it? You know, but you got to stay on these people. I mean, if you don't call these people, when you see a story that needs to be called out, you call them, and the reaction you get from them will tell you exactly whether they're involved or not. I mean, they don't want to talk about it. They just don't want to talk about it. They want to put the propaganda out there, but they don't want to talk about it. Because if
you got a name, you got a perpetrator. We need to put somebody in jail here.
You know, but when he says, you know, if you got something,
money,
fine. It's the church in the municipality, and they said, well, that's all you go buy, because he knows that's who's involved in it, because he's involved in it.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so your detective
probably right. There's a right for his retirement and his entitlement.
What irritates me is that we're paying all of these people's wages. That's what bothers me more than anything. We pay all of their wages. We buy their cars. We buy the equipment in the municipal halls, and so on and so forth. And these people are working dead against us. And that's irritating. Now, what's wrong with this number? Well, apparently I can't call. I phoned their 1-800 number. I phoned, let me try this other number one more time. No, the phone number and the fax number are the same. So how the hell do you call Crime Stoppers? How do you call these people? Any idea? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Well, my ex-wife used to actually be one of the salespeople for Crime Stoppers. Maybe I should give her a call, but I don't know if we have the time. And I don't know if she wants to give us the time, but she used to work there for a bit. And then she quit when she realized that it was just all about money.
What do you mean it's all about money? I thought it was about stopping crime.
No, I'm sorry. I meant to say they're there to support victims of crime.
Really? Are they?
Yeah. She was in the call center to elicit funds from the public.
Like, this is really bad, man. There's stories in Windsor, and I apparently couldn't get through to the police last night in Windsor, and today they don't want to talk about it, and I can't get through to Crime Stoppers. So, you know, maybe my Skype is tagged.
How can I help you?
Oh, hey, how are you? Is this Crime Stoppers?
How can I help you?
This Crime Stoppers?
This is.
Hello? Yeah, Crime Stoppers?
Yes, how can I help you?
My name's Ron, and you are?
I'm operator 525.
Yeah, but that's not what your mom called you. You don't have a first name? No?
Well, I'm not able to disclose that.
Why is that?
Because we're an anonymous tip line.
Oh, I see, an anonymous. Okay. So I shouldn't have said Ron. I should have said 297 or something. Okay, I get it. I've never called Crime Stoppers before. Anyways, this is regarding. Please call us or see Stoppers, Crime Stoppers, with any info. Okay, so this is regarding a story that was in the Windsor Star, I guess, pro-Islam graffiti called Hate Mongering Plot. You aware of that? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, you aware of that story? Because the Windsor Police says to call Crime Stoppers.
Okay.
Right. So are you aware of that story?
Yes, sir.
You are. Okay. And what the hashtag says was Islam will rule the world has been popping up around the west side of Windsor, and police and religious groups are concerned. Calls them graffiti a malicious attempt to divide our communities. Yeah? So,
Okay.
all right, so this is anonymous, and this is, I guess, an anonymous tip, so I'm going to explain to you who is behind this, and then I get a big reward, right? Just kidding on the reward part, of course. But who is involved in this is the church. The religious groups are concerned, but it's the religious groups that are involved in it. The municipality's involved in it. The Windsor Police are involved in it. And this is to shut down any questioning. I mean, this is the anti-Islam graffiti apparently was a problem, and whoever is behind them intends to disturb the peace of our great city and our communities and turn us against one another. Now, this can all be traced back to the churches and the Vatican II in the 60s, and also be traced over to the United Nations, which opened our borders to the influx of Islam migrants. And if you go to the Universal Human Rights Declaration, which I'm sure you're aware of, there's two other rights involved in that. So the Universal Human Rights is not exactly universal, because we also have the UN Indigenous Rights and the UN Islamic Rights. And if you go to the Cairo Declaration of 1990, it spells out very specifically that Islam will be what the universal human rights are based upon, which means that exactly what the hashtag said is Islam will rule the world is not pro or anti-graffiti, it's just a fact, which is backed up through the United Nations, which is backed up through the churches, which is backed up through the councils, and the police. So you're not looking for Bill or Susan out there with a spray bomb. Okay, this has been a constructed fraud to in fact deceive the people and divide the community. But it wasn't some nutcase kid. Okay, this is definitely planned straight out of the United Nations. And if you haven't read the Cairo Declaration of 1990, I suggest you go read it. I suggest you take it to your council. I suggest you take it to the police department. I suggest you take it to the churches. And then you will find who's committed this so-called crime. We signed on a long time ago, I think it was in 67, and the migrant laws of the UN were established in 51. And we have been obligated to open our borders through our agreements with the United Nations. And again, it's the United Nations that's saying that the Islamic rights are the best fit for the universal human rights, because they both contain the law and the religion, so it covers the entire sphere. So the perpetrators you're looking for are not a couple of kids with spray bombs. It is those who basically rule the community, which is the police, and because they're contracted through the municipality. And the municipality itself, we've all heard the global to local stuff. meaning that the global agenda is fed through the local councils by a CAO who sets the agenda, and the CAO is completely trained in how to implement the globalist agenda without the knowledge of the people in the community, and in fact most of the council. And then the churches again are up to their behinds in this. So your perpetrator is exactly those who are complaining about the anti and pro-Islamic graffiti. And those are facts, and they're indisputable facts, and it's all backed down by their documents, be it the Vatican documents or the UN documents, or it's all backed up by their documents. So the perpetrator you're looking for is those who are complaining about the graffiti. And so that solves your case. Hello? Hello? Now, did I just go through all this?
No, yeah.
Oh,
Just
you still...
laugh out loud, man.
You
That was, you did,
What's wrong?
that was the best you fucking done yet. That was the best call you've made ever.
Yeah, but I don't know that I still have somebody on the other end.
I don't think so. No, I think she dropped. She fell asleep.
Oh. It's still open. It's still an open line. Are you there?
She's here.
Operator, are you there? The line's open.
Well, it dropped on my end. Because I was a third party on it. She probably fell asleep with the phone in her hand.
Well, her brain exploded. Well, this is what we're dealing with, anyways.
That was good, buddy. That was good.
You gotta get on these people, because if you don't get on them, they don't feel they're being watched. And it's about shining light on the cockroaches. And we saw how they ran at the Windsor Police, both the stupid operator there asking stupid questions, always got their back up, right? And then the detective, who's supposed to be interesting and find the perpetrators of this, but as soon as you mention those that are complaining are the perpetrators, okay, that's bye. So we know that they're involved in it. The documents say they're involved in it. And they got nothing. They got nothing. They can't back anything up. They got to run. So let's run them. Okay? Let's make them extraordinarily uncomfortable. Because if we don't keep the light on them, they're just scurrying around. It's exactly what I'm going to read this again if I can find it. Put this up on my blog many years ago, and I don't know if my blog's still up here or not. I can't access it anymore for some oddball reason. Yeah, I can't even get into my own frickin' blog anymore.
That's okay. After that conversation, I'm afraid to talk to you now. You're gonna confuse the hell out of me.
but this is the whole point. This was, I love this warning. I mean, this sucker's from 42 BC. I mean, how long does it take us to understand some simple logic? Okay, a nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and he carries his banners openly. The traitor moves among those within the gate freely. That's your government, your churches, your police, your school system, and his sly whispers rustling through the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself. For the traitor appears not a traitor, He speaks in the accents familiar to his victims, and he wears their face and their garments, and he appeals to the baseness that lies within deep within the hearts of all men. He rots the soul of a nation. He works secretly and unknown into the night to undermine the pillars of a city. He infects the body politic so that it can no longer resist. A murderer is less to be feared. That's 42 BC by Cicero. What's it take, people? I mean, what the hell does it take? This isn't difficult to understand. Okay, the enemy is inside the gates. And the enemy has been inside the gates for centuries now. And they allowed us to build what they want, and now it's time to tear it down. Okay, and Bob Dylan has a song, and I know he said he signed a deal with the devil, but then he went Christian for a while. I don't know what he's up to now. I don't listen to him anymore, but he has a song, what's it called now? Something about war. Anyways, in that song, he talks about they build to destroy. He nails it. The absolute Masters of War, that's the song. Masters of War. Look that up and listen to it. You know, two songs that just nail it. John Lennon's Working Man Hero. There's still room at the top if you're willing to kill as you smile, or smile as you kill, rather. And Bob Dylan's song, Masters of War. Absolutely nails it. Both those songs nail it. And we just need to pay attention, and decide, are we going to just lay down? Are we going to be the victims who we've seen over and over and over again in be it war movies or historical newsreels, where you have a ditch dug with hundreds of people standing in the ditch and 10 guys with single shot guns, and these people don't rush them. They just stand there placidly and be killed. And that's what we're doing because we're silent. We're just placidly standing by and watching the destruction of our nations and the destruction of our futures, the destruction of everything that our forefathers worked to build for us, to have a decent future so that we could give a decent future to those that come after us. And just stand there at the edge of the ditch while they knock you down one by one. I mean, we got to be better than that, people. You know, we're going to get strong, but you got to involve yourself. You can't just, all the knowledge in the world is useless. It was not put to use. And a lot of people are getting very knowledgeable now, but we got to move it out. We can't sit on it. We can't pat ourselves on the back. I found this document. Oh, you see that? You see that? And because we're in closets that way. So unfortunately, he needs it. So, listen, I'm saying to you, don't forget people. Al's on it.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force them air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives.
Truth on the Tracks.